And if you have not seen our insane slew of social media posts, ooh, that was fun. I like alliteration. We are doing our live mock draft 2. Welcome to our show.
Jocks of all trades. Jocks of all trades.
All right. Here we go. So we have the Panthers up at number 1. They've been at number 1 for a while now. Travis has the pick for the Panthers. And where are you going?
I don't know if I should believe any of these Reddit rumors or not going around.
I don't know if you should.
Will Levis doesn't think you should. But I'm going to keep it simple. Pick is in. With the first pick in the 2023 draft, the Carolina Panthers select Bryce Young, quarterback out of Alabama.
Nice. And do you think they are scared of his size at all? Or do you think they're in the majority with Bryce Young, that everybody's on board?
Well, I mean, I think there's definitely some concern about it, but I think if you look at any of the, projected top 10 picks, each one of them has some type of concern, whether that's size related, off-field production. Yeah. But I mean, if you just put on the tape and watch him at Alabama, I mean, he's the best player in the draft, regardless of size. So I think, you can get over that. I mean, all the other quarterbacks, I think, have their own flaws, which, those are more questionable, I think, than his size. So, yeah, play it safe as safe as you can, especially since you gave up all that draft capital to get your guy.
Yeah, you got to get it right.
Can be yours. Yeah, go with a guy that can be the face of your franchise for a while. So
yeah, 100% agree with that. So that means the Texans are up at number 2. And you know what? I have the Texans here, and I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going to go say the pick is in. I'm going to pick Tyree Wilson here out of Texas Tech. Listen, I think the Texans need a quarterback. I think the Texans are very stupid. If they didn't win one of their last games, they could easily be picking number 1 and probably take Bryce Young. No question about it. But again, they're stupid and not well run. But if you remember years ago, they took Mario Williams over Reggie Bush. And that was a big shocker. A lot of people just questioned that. And even though I think Mario Williams' career turned out different than Reggie Bush's career did, probably a little bit better too. I think what DeMeco Ryans wants is a solid defensive end, a thickly built, an edge player. And even though I think Will Anderson's the best player in this draft, I think they're going to go Tyree Wilson here. I think they're going to pass on quarterback for right now, even though I think it's stupid. But I think that's where they're going to go. What do you guys think? Anybody want to chime in to see what they think about this pick?
The DeMeco Ryans fit. He wants to build an identity around the defense on that. So I absolutely understand why they would go defense first, but how long can you live without a quarterback in Houston?
You got Davis Mills, man. I don't know if that's.
He's got the neck of a giraffe. He's perfect.
He does. and to see over some tall offensive linemen, that's nice to have a long neck, but I don't know how far that's going to get you. I mean, there are rumors, Brad. Didn't we see a Reddit rumor of Mac Jones being traded to the Texans?
For number 2 overall. They'd swap 14, a 5th rounder, and next year's first.
Yeah, I mean, that's a Reddit rumor. Probably some nerd in his basement with no life just coming up with rumors. But you never know. The Texans are, again, not a well-run franchise. So we have a little bit of a trade here. We're mixing things up. We're going to have the Raiders trade up to number 3. They're going to trade the 7th overall pick, a second rounder this year, first rounder next year. They're trading with the Cardinals. The Raiders are on the clock.
We got to do our trade alert.
Oh, I didn't even know we had one of those. Great. Sounds like there's a world emergency and someone has to rescue us. All right, trade alert. Nick, you're up for the Raiders at number 3.
Well, the Raiders, the pick is in. Clearly, the Raiders moved up to make a big move, and they're going to go with C.J. Stroud of Ohio State. And I promise after this, I'm done drafting Ohio State players. They've just fallen into my lap every time, I swear.
That's interesting. I mean, they have Jimmy G there already, right? And I don't know what you guys think. I kind of want to hear from a lot of you. But Brad and I had this debate about C.J. Stroud. There's been a lot of scuttlebutt surrounding his testing. What is it, S2 or Wonderlic, whatever that crap is.
S2.
S2. He got a low score. Do you think that's relevant at all? Do you think that's just something they came up with to discredit him? What do you guys think about that?
It's smokescreen week. The last few days before the NFL draft, every news that comes out, I feel like, is anything but what it's projected as.
Yeah.
Anything that comes out is for a reason, and someone wants him up high, and they're trying to get others to not take him.
Yeah. I mean, I think Brad thinks that CJ is not very good. I disagree with him. I think he's very good, but you know.
I just think these NFL scouts spend months and months analyzing tape and film of these players, traveling to practices, games. If they're gonna make their decision based off a test, they basically just wasted all that time.
Yep.
I mean, I've taken the Wonderlic test before, and I think I got a pretty good score. But like some of that stuff, it has nothing to do with football at all. Most of it has nothing to do with football at all. So I don't know what the S2 is. Maybe we'll do some more research on that. Anyway, moving on. Colts are up at number 4. Bryce, you have the Colts.
The pick is in. With the 4th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts will select Anthony Richardson, quarterback at Florida.
Nice.
I think that he is probably the most athletic player in the quarterback position, just in sheer ability and size, and just his athletic build is going to give him that quarterback-esque that we're seeing the league transition to. And I think with Steichen being the new head coach, he's going to be able to – he's been known as the quarterback whisperer. Like, he's going to be able to do something different to allow Anthony Richardson to really succeed.
Yeah. A lot of people have likened that situation to Jalen Hurts with Shane Steichen and some similar things there. So that'll be interesting to see.
Some people have had their tweets stolen by ESPN Fantasy saying the same thing. It is what it is.
ESPN steals our tweets. You heard that here first. I did want to ask you, Bryce, do you think the Texans, if they do this in reality here, they bypass on the quarterback and the Colts take Anthony Richardson and he does well? I mean, like, if you're the Texans, you look pretty bad, don't you?
Absolutely. I think the Texans are in a position where they've been at the bottom of the AFC South for a few years now. And if they really miss on a quarterback that continues to beat them year after year, it'll look bad on the Texans for sure.
Yeah.
So my argument to that is, do we remember Suck for Luck? Do we remember that whole campaign? I think the Texans are going to do something for Caleb Williams. I'm not sold that they love quarterbacks in this draft. If you suck again with Davis Mills, who cares? You have Drake May, you have Quinn Ewers, you have Caleb Williams, you have Shadur Sanders. There's a whole slew of guys next year.
You didn't just say Shador.
I did. Michael Penix even.
Oh my word! Don't get me started. All right, but there's no funny lingo slogan for Caleb Williams. It's too hard with his name, so that's not going to work. All right, Seahawks.
Williams for Williams? I don't know.
Seahawks are up at number 5 here, and Phil, you have the Seahawks.
Yeah, the pick's in already. It's pretty quick.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good. And the Seahawks are dominant. They were dominant on defense. So we're going to continue that trend. Start rebuilding in Seattle with Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good pick. If he's still on the board, do you think it's a possibility for them to go maybe Jalen Carter, or do you think he's kind of slipping down the board?
I think if you have the option between Will Anderson Jr. and Jalen Carter, the safer option is Will Anderson.
Yeah.
I think Carter might have the higher upside. He's, big dude. But it's the safe pick. It's the easy pick. It's what Seattle needs to do right now.
Yeah. I forget what draft that was. I think it was with Khalil Mack and I forget the other player. His name's blanking, but Khalil Mack it might have been Jadeveon Clowney, I think. Clowney and Khalil Mack. And Clowney was the more, freakish prospect, but Mack was the more, kind of finished overall. His tape and the way he moves his hands, his body, all of that, it was just much more NFL ready. And it seems like Mack has had the better career, so people have kind of likened that to that situation. So we'll see ultimately what happens between Will Anderson and Tyree Wilson. That'll be a big talking point going forward in their career. That means the Lions are up at number 6, and Matt, you have the Lions.
And for the Lions, the pick is in. It's going to be a little bit of a shocker for the most part, but I can see the Lions going down this route. So for the 6th pick of the 2023 NFL Draft, we are going with Bijan Robinson.
Whoa.
Oh.
Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson. I can see them doing this because they did lose Jamal Williams in the offseason so far, and I don't think they trust DeAndre Swift. So I think, they move on from him, maybe move DeAndre Swift to number 2 back, go with Bijan at number 1, and just have a dual for a running back situation. Originally, I was going to have them go a different route, but this makes the most logical sense, even though I feel like it's a reach. But according to DraftTech.com, Bijan has jumped up quite a bit in the rankings as far as prospects go. So I can see the Lions buying the burn on this one and taking Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, that's a crazy pick. I'd be very surprised if that happened. Not because Bijan's not a good player, but considering that they do have Swift and David Montgomery there, that would be very interesting to add him to that mix there. So yeah, Cardinals are up at number 7. Does anybody want to add to that at all?
I mean, it's not too early. I think he'll go top 10. Just maybe not the team that I thought would take him that early.
Yeah. There's been rumors pretty much everywhere for him, so that'll be interesting to see. So the Cardinals are up at number 7. I have the Cardinals, and I'm going to say the pick is in. I'm going to go Paris Johnson Jr., tackle guard out of Ohio State. It seems like Kyler Murray wants Paris Johnson. Those are the rumors there. He visited the Cardinals, and Murray loves him a lot. Listen, I don't think Murray should be running the franchise at all. Definitely not, considering he plays Call of Duty every night. But it seems like that might be where they're going, and they definitely do need offensive line help. It's bad. I mean, it's really bad along both sides. of the line of scrimmage, defense and offense. But yeah, they really need to tackle desperately. And I think Paris Johnson Jr. is the guy that's really going up draft boards, going up maybe top 5. Tackles always run early, and he's the best true tackle in this draft, I think. Skoronski will probably slide into guard. So, yeah, I'm going to go Paris Johnson Jr. to the Cardinals at number 7. Does anybody like Skoronski over him or any other lineman, or do you think Paris Johnson could be the first lineman taken?
Johnson should be the first guy off.
Yeah.
I don't think it's clear. I think it's pretty clear. He's built like a tackle. Skoronski has the concern and probably goes to a guard in my opinion. And I think just the long arms, the big frame that you get with Paris Johnson, he's the guy that's drafted as far as tackle.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. Falcons are up at number 8, and Travis, you have the Falcons.
My initial pick was taken. Probably going to go Bijan here, but I think there's still one pretty good blue chip player left, so I'm going to say the pick is in. All right, with the 8th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons selected Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia.
Jalen Carter here. Why Jalen Carter?
Honestly, I mean, I think there's only a couple like true blue chip players in this draft, and I think all the rest of them at this point are probably gone. So, I think for the Falcons, it's either, take him. I know there's some, question marks with him off the field. If those things get answered in a good way, he could end up being the best player in this draft when it's all said and done, if he gets everything together. Other than that, if they don't like him, it's probably a good spot to try and trade down if there's somebody looking to come up, because I think the rest of the prospects left are kind of all in that same tier. So
yeah, he probably is one of the less blue chip guys there is. Do you think that's helpful if he were to go from Georgia to Atlanta, if he has those off the field concerns, or do you think it'd be more helpful for him to get away and go to like Seattle or somewhere else?
I think it all depends on, the culture of the locker room that he goes to. I mean, I don't know, is Grady Jarrett still?
Yeah,
is he still with the Falcons? I mean, that's a good guy to learn from.
Yeah. And Calais Campbell's there too.
True. Yeah. So I mean, he's got some good people there to try to get his head on straight. And who knows? I mean, I think everything. He's definitely some issues, but I think everything gets blown out of proportion during draft time too. So, like I said, if those things are solved and he's able to put it together, he could be, end up being the best player in this draft easily.
Yeah, as long as we don't have another Laramie Tunsil situation, we're all good. Number 9, the Bears are up now, and Matt, you have the Bears.
The pick is in for the Chicago Bears. With the 9th pick of the 2023 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears will select Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern. I think, it's no secret the Bears, they need to beef up that O-line, and I feel like Skoronski, Northwestern kid, I think he fits the bill for that offensive line in terms of building it up a little bit, and, add that protection for Justin Fields and get carried with the ball too, and hit other receivers. Yeah, that's where I think the Bears should go.
Yeah, Peter Skoronski. There are rumblings out there, and again, there's so many rumors, so many, lies probably, but I've seen from multiple sources that scouts think he could be a Hall of Fame kind of guy at guard, like a Zach Martin type of guy. That would be awesome, especially for the Bears. I'm pretty sure Skoronski's uncle, pretty sure his uncle or his grandfather, probably his grandfather, played lineman for the Packers. So that'd be pretty cool for for Skoronski to go to the Bears, a different team than the NFC North. So that means the Eagles are up at number 10. Phil, you have the Eagles.
And the pick is in. With the 10th pick, the Eagles will take Nolan Smith out of Georgia.
Love it.
Get somebody to build, keep building the rotation of, get the veterans out, get the young guys in. I think he fits the mold of what Reddick does very well. The pass rushing side, I think he's a good guy to learn, good mentor. Just another rotational piece to keep a very healthy, energized line, healthy pass rush. I think he's the guy.
And I have a question for, for you, Phil, or anybody else, really. But do you think he could be a Micah Parsons type of player? Micah, I think his career high for Penn State was 5 sacks in a year, and people have kind of, said, "Oh, well, Nolan Smith, his career high is only 3.5. He doesn't sack the quarterback a lot." Do you think that's a little bit overblown, and do you think he can be more productive?
I think this draft is so high with good edge rushers and edge rushers in general that I do think Nolan Smith kind of gets overlooked a little bit. Do I think he's Micah Parsons-esque? I'm not there yet. I don't think he's quite that versatile, but I think there's a lot of meat left on that bone to kind of develop and turn into a guy who can be a good contributor to the defensive line of the Eagles.
Man, Phil, I feel like you watch Howie Roseman press conferences all the time because you're sounding like him.
Yep.
I also like the pairing of Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith,
Yes.
and Nakobe Dean. I like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yep, you got Georgia 2.0.
Yeah.
Now we just need to trade up for Jalen Carter, too, if that's possible.
Ew.
That'd be kind of crazy. Titans are up at number 11. Bryce, you have the Titans.
And the pick is in. With the 11th pick in the 2023 draft, the Tennessee Titans will select Broderick Jones out of Georgia. I think that the Titans are going to probably pass on quarterback if they don't move up. I don't think that they would draft a quarterback here. I think they'll take a offensive lineman that'll beef up their front guys to lead for Derrick Henry if he's still going to be around, or for protect whoever they bring in at quarterback after Tannehill leaves, or if Malik Willis ends up being better than he was last year. I think that they really need to protect whoever's back there.
Yeah, I know Travis loves Broderick Jones with a passion. I'm not super high on him, but in terms of his athleticism and the potential is there to be a very, very good tackle. We'll see if he can get worked in right away. I have the Texans at number 12, and I'm going to say the pick is in. I'm going to go Dalton Kincaid for the Texans at number 12. I think they bypassed Will Levis. I think out of all these quarterbacks here, Will Levis, in my opinion, is the most questionable as a long-term NFL prospect at quarterback. Dalton Kincaid, though, I think he could range anywhere from 10 to 31. I think he has so much ability and so much potential to be like one of the top tight ends in the NFL at some point. Now, he's not that great of a blocker, but as a receiver, if you can get a guy over the middle of the field, we've seen how crucial tight ends are. Look at what some of the final 4 teams that were left. You have Kelsey, you have Goddard, you had George Kittle with the 49ers. It's important to have a really good tight end and one that can stretch the field, but one that can work in the middle of the field too. So if we're stinking for Caleb Williams or whatever that slogan's going to be, I think they're going to do a lot to surround, hopefully, their quarterback next year as well. So now that means the Packers are up at 13, and that is Matt.
All right, sorry for the technical difficulties. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. So the pick is in for the Green Bay Packers. With the 13th pick of the 2023 NFL Draft, Green Bay Packers will select Jackson Smith-Njigba. I know it's a tough stretch because the Packers haven't drafted a wide receiver in the first round since 2002. And I believe when we did this last year, I said that they should take a wide receiver in the first round. Well, they didn't. Let's do Jordan Love some favors. Get him a receiver in the first round, someone he can, build that, camaraderie with, and then develop into a great receiver for Green Bay.
And so, Phil, you're up in a couple picks, but you have the Jets, and with that recent trade, do you think they're kind of kicking themselves? Because there were rumors that they might be interested in JSN. Do you think they're kind of kicking themselves now that he's gone?
No, I don't think they're kicking themselves.
Really?
I think it's almost that last spite move for the Packers to go draft a receiver in the first round after they get rid of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Just kind of a parting gift for Aaron on the way out.
That was kind of why I did it. Not gonna lie.
It sounds like them. Patriots, they're up at number 14. And Bryce, you have the Patriots.
I didn't realize I had the Patriots. I apologize. But the pick is in. With the 14th pick in the 2023 draft, I think the Patriots will select Quentin Johnson, wide receiver, TCU. I think that they're going to take a guy who's definitely able to spread the field and then also spread the field deeper. So giving Mac Jones the ability to reach out and go long or get it to a playmaker, and then he's able to make plays, able to really expand that offense even more than for Bill Belichick to really allow these players to work in the best capability.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot for the Patriots. Corner could be an option. We got Christian Gonzalez. I think all of them are still available. Gonzalez, Witherspoon, and Porter. But like you said, receiver is a need for them. Drafting Tyquan Thornton, I don't think was an answer. And corner, I think they're kind of set at corner. They do need a bigger guy in there. So, but it will be interesting to see in the actual draft where they go. I think secretly they do have a lot of needs. So that means the Jets are up, and Phil, you have the Jets.
Give me 1 second here. All right, the pick is in. I have the Jets going to take Miles Murphy out of Clemson.
Nice.
Make that defense a little bit younger, a little bit healthier, a little bit faster, give a little bit more power off the edge. It's tempting to go
Murphy.
Corner with somebody on the other side of Sauce, but do you go first round corners 2 years in a row? And I don't know that you do when you have a need.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of love Miles Murphy, his size, very, very like Tyree Wilson there with his big frame. Corners going down. Pat, you're up at 16 with Commanders. Is this where all the corners stop?
Yeah, so I'm first going to say that as a Commanders fan, with the sale of the team, that's the biggest one here. So the draft is kind of just a cherry on top, but thank goodness Dan Snyder's out of there. Like maybe we can actually talk about football instead of like how scummy our ownership is. So that's been like a lifelong dream of mine ever since, I've been a Commanders fan since I was a kid. But anyways, with my spiel over, I just had to get that off my chest. The pick is in. So with the 16th overall pick, we're going to go ahead and go offensive line and go Paris Johnson from Ohio State.
Well, Paris Johnson's gone.
Oh my gosh, no, I'm sorry, guys. Okay,
It's all right.
we're going to go completely the opposite area then. We're going to actually go corner. Is Joey Porter still on the board?
Yep.
Yes, he is.
All right, we're going to go Joey Porter from Penn State then. So let me see here. So yeah, the reason why I would say we're going corner is because although, offensive line, if somehow something drops down to our O-line, like one of those big names drops down, we'll for sure take that. I could also see us trading back. But the reason why I say Joey Porter is because Penn State picks have worked out for us in the past on the offensive side. And there's a lot of good offenses right now in the NFC East, especially with the Eagles. You got the Cowboys wide receiver core. We have Kendall Fuller, but there's not really somebody else on the opposite side. We have Benjamin St. Juste. He's shown some on and off, potential, but having two solid corners in Kendall Fuller and Joey Porter to kind of solidify that back end for Ron Rivera, I think in a pivotal year is going to be really important. And, just kind of as a disclaimer, I think the rest of the draft, we're going to focus more on offense for Eric Bieniemy and giving him an opportunity. But I just love Joey Porter, watch some of his highlights, and he's a great player. So that's why we're going corner.
I like it.
Ron Rivera, I think, had Josh Norman at some point. That they've kind of similar players there, big, long, instinctive guys, tough guys, physical guys. That makes a lot of sense there. So that means the Steelers are up at 17, and I think we have a video from Donnie.
Right after we hear from our sponsors. Fresh Cuts is our amazing sponsor who has been with us since 2020. Fresh Cuts is the local barbershop hangout in Marion, Indiana. If you're looking for a full-service barber with excellent cuts and a welcoming atmosphere, contact Caleb Kemper for an appointment time through www.freshcutsbarbershop.com. Mondays are the best days to get in, although he has plenty of time slots available. And if you happen to miss us live, you'll be hearing us in the shop while you enjoy your fresh cut. Slide on by to Fresh Cuts to pick up some stylish footwear with Caleb's Fresh Kicks collection. From Nike to Jordans, he offers the best price for quality kicks. And if you don't find what you like, Caleb offers custom work for $250. Stop over to 1224 North Baldwin Ave in Marion to pick up yours today, or Caleb also ships all over the U.S. Message him for prices and sizes. Our other people we sponsor, Steve Wood Illustrations and Ronald Morell for Mayor, check out their respective pages on Facebook. And our other friends at other podcasts, the Culture Corner podcast, 1,000 Wives of Weird, and Rules of the Frame. Check them out on their respective platforms listed below. All right, so as Kyle said, the Steelers are on the clock, and unfortunately Donnie could not be with us. However, he made us these beautiful videos. Take it away, Donnie.
What's up, Steeler Nation? In the 2023 NFL Draft, with the 17th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers are taking Lucas Van Ness, defensive end, Iowa Hawkeyes.
Thank you, Donnie. That was awesome. Lucas Van Ness here. It's an interesting fit. I'm not sold on the player personally. I don't know if anyone disagrees with me. Like, does anybody like this guy? I'm not the biggest fan of his. So I don't want to talk down on him. But if anyone does anyone love this guy?
The silence is very loud.
Silence is definitely.
It's an alright pick. I'm not jumping for joy for the Steelers over it, but I don't really have anything else.
It makes sense to have somebody on the other side of TJ Watt, but I think you could almost get away with doing that in the second round and address secondary. But Van Ness is going to be one of those, either he is amazing and we all just missed it and the scouts know something we don't, or he's going to be Devin Bush 2.0 for the Steelers.
The thing that might work out for them is he will have the potential to slide in probably to D tackle, or maybe in their base 3-4, he could play a defensive end role. Cameron Hayward, not getting any younger. He's about 6'5", 295, and Lucas Van Ness could put some weight on and maybe, play that position. Do I think he's Cam Hayward? No, but, I think the potential is there possibly for Lucas Van Ness to slide into that 3-4 defensive end and play opposite Hayward, give him some rest, or when Hayward's gone, because he is 33, when Hayward's gone, Lucas Van Ness could slide in there. I don't know if he could play traditional outside linebacker in a 3-4. I think he's a little too thick for that, a little too slow. But I think if they do draft him here, I think that's where eventually they will slide in. So Lions are up at 18, and Matt, you have the Lions. Who did the Lions pick at number 6? Bijan, right?
They picked Bijan.
All right.
However, with this pick is in, by the way. With the 18th pick of the 2023 NFL Draft, the Lions are going to go defense here. They're going to take Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois.
Nice.
It's one of those, they need to reestablish that defense. I mean, for the first, I think, quarter of the year, they were the leading offensive, they had the most points as far as offense goes, but they were also giving up the most points, on the defensive side of the ball. So, with that, I see them building that secondary up a little bit by getting some young talent, such as Devin Witherspoon here. And, I'm looking at some of the stats right now. You got his hand size is 8 and 7/8 inches. Good Lord, can't get that out. But I think that's the direction that Detroit should go here at pick number 18 if he's still on the board.
Yeah, that's. I think he's one of their favorite players in this draft. He seems like a Dan Campbell kind of guy. They got rid of Jeffrey Okudah. Corner is definitely a spot that they're looking at. So we do have a trade here. The Buccaneers were at pick 19, but we're going to say the Buccaneers are trading this pick to the Ravens, along with next year's first rounder and next year's second rounder and Kyle Trask. So that means the Ravens have Kyle Trask, and the Ravens are trading away Lamar Jackson to the Buccaneers. That's where we're going here. So that means the Ravens are on the clock now at pick 19.
And the pick is in. And the Ravens are going to be taking Christian Gonzalez at cornerback. I like Devin Witherspoon. They still need a lot of holes to fill on the defense, and if they're giving up Lamar, they're going to have to keep that defense very, very relevant. They've still got some free agents that they haven't fully tied up at the corner position, and with the money they just gave to OBJ, I don't know if they're going to be able to bring those guys back. Best answer is just go with the top corner available on the board and fill that gap as quickly as you can.
Nice. Love that pick for them. I think corner is definitely a sneaky need for them. I'm sure they're in love with Witherspoon, like you said, Gonzalez, Joey Porter, all those guys. I fully expect them to take a corner in this draft. I think that's definitely a need for them, and it's a deep cornerback draft, so that makes a lot of sense. Brad, since you are a Ravens fan, what do you think of this move?
If we get Kyle Trask for Lamar Jackson, not only will I eat my pants if Will Levis goes first, I'll cook up my shirt on the stove and eat that next. Oof. But I do like Christian Gonzalez. He is probably my favorite corner out of the three big ones. I wouldn't be mad about that, especially because Marlon Humphrey is getting old. Kyle Hamilton still needs some work before he becomes a central piece to our defense. So adding another guy in there to learn to get in and make some moves, I like it. D-line would be good also because we lost Kalai Campbell. But I think secondary is, if you can't get to the quarterback, keep them from passing. So I'm cool with it. I like it.
All right, I just want to see you in a Kyle Trask jersey, Ravens jersey, or a Kyle Trask Florida jersey, whatever.
Absolutely not.
All right, so Seattle Seahawks are up at number 20. It's with Phil. And who did the Seahawks take at number 5?
I believe they went defense last time, so the pick is in. When you're picking this low in the first round and you still have the option, you're gonna take it. You have Geno Smith, but why not back him up with Will Levis out of Kentucky?
Love it. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Get a guy in there to train up. Levis has struggled with his accuracy. You can give him a year or two behind Geno. Allows him to work on his footwork, allow him to work on his accuracy, get him trained up.
Yeah, I love that. I think Seattle, I think they're definitely looking at these quarterbacks, whether it be CJ or Richardson or even Hendon Hooker. I think Hendon Hooker is a lot like Geno. That could be a spot too, but I think you're right on point. I think quarterback at 5 or 20 could be a pick for Seattle, honestly. Because you're right, Geno's only there for, his contract is 3 years, but they can opt out, I think, after 1. So that's a sneaky need for Seattle for sure. So the Chargers are up at 21. And I have the Chargers, and I'm going to say the pick is in. The Chargers taking Michael Mayer, tight end, out of Notre Dame. We know what weapons they have. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Palmer. I like those guys. Receiver is still a need for them. But having a solid tight end, one that can block and one that can open up in the middle of the field as well, is something they desperately need. Right now, they just have a bunch of tight ends that can do one thing or the other. They don't have a guy that can do both. I think Michael Mayer is the guy in this draft that can do both and both effectively, and he can help out in the run game as well, especially if they're considering getting rid of Austin Eckler and bringing in a new running back. I think their running back room will change. I think their scheme will change a little bit, having a different type of running back. So if you're looking for more power game, Michael Mayer is your guy at tight end to help out with that. So Michael Mayer to the Chargers at 21. And now Nick is up again with the Ravens at 22.
And that pick is in as well. Edge rusher BJ Ojulari.
Nice. Man, he seems like a Ravens guy, doesn't he?
He does. One of my favorites to watch over the last 2 years. He didn't have as productive of a year last year, and it kind of lowered his draft stock a little bit. But his explosiveness and upside, just like you guys said right there, I think he can be a terror if he's used properly on the edge. And given that hole that Calais Campbell left there, I think he's a great plug-and-play guy for that same kind of system.
Nice. So the Vikings, Matt, your team up at 23.
There's a lot of things that Minnesota needs to do with this draft, and yeah, let's just get to it. The pick is in for Minnesota. With the 23rd pick of the NFL or 2023 NFL draft, Minnesota Vikings will select Zay Flowers out of Boston College. Listen, we have Justin Jefferson, arguably best tight end in the game best wide receiver in the game right now. TJ Hawkinson, at tight end. It's no secret, Adam Thielen left. KJ Osborne, potential is there, but not as talented, as one would hope. And we know how we got Jalen Reagor. So outside of those first three that I mentioned, we don't really have anything. So I see. I think it's a good pick for Minnesota to take wide receiver here, and Zay Flowers kind of fits that bill. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely a different type of receiver, but one that I think they need. You need a guy that can stretch that offense a little bit, do it more effectively, a guy that can be good in the return game as well. And if you're thinking about getting rid of Dalvin Cook, because there's rumors they could trade him or even cut him, getting a guy that I think you could probably put in the backfield too and do a lot of fun things with, I think that makes a lot of sense for Minnesota, especially considering they're probably not going to have Kirk Cousins for another 5 years. He's probably done soon with Minnesota. I think just getting a lot of weapons on that offense is a good idea. Like that pick there. That means, Bryce, you're up for the Jaguars at 24.
And the pick is in. And with the 24th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars will select Brian Branch, safety, Alabama. I think that the Jaguars need some help in their secondary. Definitely need to have a guy who can be versatile. He can play safety, he can play nickel, he can cover, but he's also great in space, great tackler, and able to disrupt the offense as a great defensive player.
Yeah, I like that. They're sorely missing playmakers at corner and safety. I've told Brad this early on, but I really love Brian Branch. I'd be super happy if he would fall to 30. In reality, the Eagles take him. Again, he had like one of the lowest percentage of missed tackles in all of college football last year. Just a really, really solid player. And the guy that can play nickel too, it makes a lot of sense for them. Love that pick. So Jaguars take Brian Branch, and now we have Phil with the Giants.
All right. And the pick is in. The Giants are going to get it right eventually. If we keep drafting wide receivers, eventually you'll get one. So with this pick, they're going to take Jordan Addison at USC.
Way more wide receivers than I expected in the first round this time around.
Hey, you never know, man.
I like it.
Yeah, Jordan Addison here at pick 25. Yeah, you're right, Phil. They need to get it right. I'm hoping, obviously, they get it wrong, but they need to get it right at some point. I do like Jordan Addison, but Brad, I kind of want your opinion on this about Jordan. Are you not a fan of kind of how his career went from Pittsburgh to USC?
This is sneaky. You already know the answer to this, but I'd be happy to speak about it. No, I don't like Jordan Addison. I think when you had Kenny Pickett, who ended up being a first-round draft pick out of Pittsburgh, who was, you're playing subpar teams in the ACC. You're not exactly playing Clemson every week. And he did really well. And I'll say that he did really well consistently. But when you go from Kenny Pickett to Caleb Williams, who is a much better prospect, a pass-heavy offense, and you disappear, that's concerning to me when you look at a pro-style offense that's going to pass consistently, which is what they're building for Daniel Jones. So I like him. I just don't know if I like him as a consistent option for Daniel Jones. I'd like to be proven wrong. I'd like to hope that Biletnikoff is the high point that he has and he sticks to that high point, but I'm also worried that he's going to get lost in the sauce somewhere in that defense. I've always kind of been concerned with Jordan Addison this year. I thought, honestly, he should have been the wide receiver one, but just with a very unproductive senior season, it just makes me worried for the Giants or whoever takes him.
Yeah, definitely.
The perfect pick for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll take it. All right, so Brad, you are up at 26 for the Cowboys.
Okay, we're going to get wild. My only two picks are going to be wild if they go the way that I want them to, so I'm going to say that the pick is in. And, a lot of people are mocking Bijan Robinson to the Cowboys, but I think if you want that 1-2 punch with Tony Pollard is more of a power back. You want a speed guy. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, is the pick here for the Cowboys. There's lots of things they could do. I don't really like any of the receivers that are left. Deonte Banks has too many questions at corner. You could go D-line, but who would you pick here that you couldn't get in the second round? I think they're either going to trade back or they're going to reach for something. And if you're going to reach, you're probably going to reach for Jahmyr Gibbs just because I like the man, but I also think that he probably shouldn't go in the first round. But, you know, it's NFL GMs. Who knows what they want to do? But I will say having an extra receiver for the Cowboys that suddenly and sorely always need a receiver for whatever reason because CeeDee Lamb and nobody else, he could be helpful. I don't see Pollard as a receiver. But yeah, I told you I'd be wild.
Okay. I mean, I don't hate the pick. But what I don't like is calling Pollard a power back and he's not a receiver. Very opposite. All right.
He's okay.
All right. Nick to the Bills at 27.
I got robbed with the last 2 picks, but my pick is in. And the Buffalo Bills select wide receiver Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. Between Branch, Addison, and Gibbs, those are the top 3 players I had for the Bills on my end. I don't really like any of the late round offensive tackles. I think you can get just as much talent in the second round at this point as you can. But I guess you could say that for wide receiver where I just took as well. So at this point, I'm just taking what I got left, and I think a wide receiver is going to be a bigger need than an offensive line at this point for the Bills.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I think both are pretty big, but you're right. I think they're in desperate need of another receiver. Gabe Davis is not consistent enough for them, I think. But he has moments where it's like, wow, he's breakout candidate, but then he'll go back to not getting anything. So I think having another deep threat option for that offense makes a lot of sense. And Bryce, you're up with the Bengals at 28.
The pickle's in. With the 28th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Bengals will select Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback out of Mississippi State.
Nice.
I think that adding some coverage ability to that defense will really allow them to make another push next year deep into the playoffs. I think that their offense is pretty set. They're pretty almost like a juggernaut at times. When everybody's firing on all cylinders, they can really beat any defense, but it's their defense that's really going to win them a championship. So I think that they got to build up that defense.
Yeah, Forbes is a interesting prospect for sure. Undersized a little bit. I mean, his height is fine, but it says 180 on the screen here. But combine and all of that, he weighed in like under 170. But in terms of being a playmaker, yeah, I think he had maybe 6 pick sixes in his career. Gets a lot of interceptions. Gets his hands on the ball. He's around the ball a lot. So.
Actually, he had 16 for his career.
16 for his career.
Yeah,
that's a lot. So, I mean, I think if you can get a corner that's locked down, that's nice. But you know what? But nicer is getting a corner that can get the ball back to Joe Burrow. So that makes a lot of sense there. And Matt, you're up for the Saints at 29.
The pick is warm. So for the 29th pick of the NFL draft for 2023, the Saints are going to go Will McDonald IV. It's no secret that defensive line for the Saints is getting older. Cameron Jordan, who's up there in age. Just looking at it, sorry about that. Carl Granderson also getting up there in age. Taco Charlton, you need some young blood in there. So you might as well go grab Will McDonald IV out of Iowa State and just rebuild that defensive line and get some push up front and get some young blood.
Yeah, I like that pick for them. It makes a lot of sense. Defensive line, big need, like you said. Phil, you're up with the Eagles at pick 30.
And the pick is in. We're going to keep it Howie Roseman-esque and go Osiris Torrance out of Florida.
Phil, I mean, I'm liking this draft, man. You know what
Keep
you're
it up
doing.
It's the most Howie thing you can do. Big men up front. Just pad those lines.
Love it. Man, he's a big boy too. I don't know about you, Phil, but he reminds me a lot of when they had Brandon Brooks.
Yeah.
And that guy was just a massive, massive human being. Man, and Dickerson on the left side is also a massive guy as well. So having both those guys, it's awesome. They like getting those linemen like in the second round. I think if the Eagles do trade back with pick 30, I think Torrance or another lineman is definitely like, yeah, I think that's a given. They're going to get one probably early, so makes a lot of sense. Brad, you're up with the last pick with the Chiefs at 31.
I sure am. And like I said, I promised wild because it's the NFL. They do wild things. And I will go ahead and explain, but the pick is in. I see you looking at it. Look, it's Hendon Hooker. Here's why.
Oh.
Here's why. That whole conference, that whole division is stacked with quarterbacks. You cannot afford for Patrick Mahomes to be out for 4 to 5 games and rely on who knows what. They don't have a backup quarterback right now. I think you could very easily get bounced from playoff contention with enough losses, and I'm going to be crazy enough and just say take Hendon Hooker because I'm done with this draft and nobody's left that's worth taking, so it's Hendon Hooker at 31.
Hold on.
Wild.
Okay, Brad, tell me.
Ravens did the same thing.
AFC West. Let's. You saw Russell Wilson play last year, right?
Listen, I don't think the Chiefs are going to take Hendon Hooker. I mean, the only thing that makes sense is to get 5 years out of him as a backup. But listen, they just signed Blaine Gabbert. I know Blaine Gabbert sucks, but they don't. I mean, listen, they don't even need a backup quarterback if Mahomes goes down. Andy Reid's that magical. That would be, oh my gosh, that'd be insane, dude. I'd lose my mind. I mean, there's other guys. You could have had Mozzie Smith or Keon White or Darnell Wright or I don't know, Josh Downs, somebody. Any of those guys, Brad, sound good to you? No.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I think we'll call it there. So everybody, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate all of you that hopped on and picked for your teams and other teams and helped us out. It means a lot. But for all you listeners out there, Jock Nation, thanks again for joining our live mock draft. And enjoy the draft this weekend. And we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.
Yeah.